What is going on, everybody? Man, you guys are just showering me with love, and the least I can do is pay you guys back. And I can't give you guys everything, so I figured why not do a review I have not even done yet. And actually the successor of this phone just came out, the Google Pixel 3 and the 3 XL, so I kind of want to take a step back, not that far though, just last year, and see how the Google Pixel 2 holds up in 2018, the later part of 2018. Now the reason I'm doing this now again is because the Google Pixel 3 just came out and I want to do a lot of comparisons with it, but I figured I need to kind of break it down and see, is the Google Pixel 2 still worth it? But let's just kind of see how it holds up. Now this phone, like I said, came out in October of 2017, just last year, and it's been about a year since it came out, obviously. Looking around the body, honestly, like I said, it does look a little bit dated, and I don't want to hate on Google too much because yes, the body might not look the best, but this phone doesn't really sacrifice in any other area, maybe besides screen resolution. It does have a 5-inch screen, it's 1080p, it's AMOLED, and honestly, I'm being dead honest, I don't think it's a bad display at all. I think it's pretty decent, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, you bashed on the iPhone XR for having a low-res screen. Well, first of all, that screen is actually lower than this, but second of all, it's actually OLED, this panel, and I think it's still very, very good. It holds up. I don't really see the need to go up to a 1440p or anything even above 1080p if you're around like a 5-inch display. If you're above 5 inches, then it kind of makes sense too. But I think the display still looks very, very awesome, and I would consider it a pro for this phone especially. And because it's not like res high or anything like that, it does kind of take less power overall and take less battery life, so that is kind of one thing to kind of keep in mind with that. You also have the front camera. You have front-facing speakers, which is really, really nice. That's even one more addition. It's a really awesome feature that they added. I just kind of wish the bezels were a little bit smaller. And I know that's kind of like petty because it was last year. But at the same time, I mean, this phone was released when bezels were still getting smaller. So I feel like Google could have taken an initiative to make the screen at least look a little bit better, because they pretty much just took the original Pixel, and just put front-facing speakers on it. And that thing had huge bezels. This thing has huge bezels. And now the Google Pixel 3 XL, just whatever that is. But the Google Pixel 3 does have smaller bezels, so whatever. You have a camera on the back, you have glass on the top, you have a fingerprint sensor on the back too, but the weird thing is that there's no wireless charging. They did eventually add it on the Google Pixel 3, but it's still kind of weird. Like, they could have added it on this version. I mean, that a lot of their competitors had wireless charging, even like the Nexus 4 had wireless charging, so it's weird that they didn't put it on this, but it's whatever. Now, when this phone was released, it actually started off getting Android 8.0, and it is right now upgradable to Android 9.0, and that's what I have my version on right now. And I don't think it's horrible. I think it's pretty cool. It's been a minute since I used like Android as a daily driver, or even used clean Android, stock Android. I think the last time I used it was on the Google Pixel XL, and I'm unsure if I had Android 9.0 on it, but Android 9 is really nice and I like it a lot. Now, this is not a full review of the software, but one of the cool little things I like about it is actually, I don't know if they just implemented this or previously, but when you put down the volume little taskbar or the volume changer thing where you can put up, down, it actually comes to where the volume buttons are. So that's really nice. It's way more convenient than having to reach up to the top and slide everything like that. But yeah, so in terms of software updates, this thing's going to be supported for at least, I think, 2 more years. It got Android 8, it got Android 9, I think it's going to get Android 10 and possibly 11. I'm kind of unsure, but this thing is always the first in line to get software updates, so you don't have to wait months and months like some Android versions like the Samsungs and the LGs. And on top of that, you get prolonged life. So that is a humongous reason. But another reason on top of that is because not only does this thing have support by Google, but this thing also has a lot of support with third-party developers. And what that means is pretty much people who are not by Google or anything like that. Because Android is open source, they can go and modify what already exists with like stock Android and put in new packages, put in all sorts of new features and everything, and make a custom ROM. And this phone has lots of custom ROMs out for it. There's a root out for it. I believe Android 9.0 is able to get rooted. So, I mean, that's always an option. I would not even consider it though. Stock Android's pretty good, but I would say later on, maybe a couple years down the line, then I would consider it, just because like once your phone's not supported, then you're pretty much out of features. But yeah, that is a humongous reason to get this phone as well. Just the support behind this phone, even if it's a year old now, like you're not going to have a problem with anything in terms of software, at least for a couple years now. Now, in terms of the specs, the performance, everything, we have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 chipset. We have an octa-core CPU clocked at 2.35 gigahertz. An Adreno 540 GPU, and 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now, with all those specs and everything, I mean, obviously you can tell this phone is still very capable. It's not going to be slow at all. When I'm doing multitasking between apps, when I'm opening apps, closing apps, everything like that, I honestly have no problem whatsoever. Honestly, one little thing, and this is kind of petty, I don't really like the new multitasking kind of bar thing. Like when you get into multitasking, I just think it looks way too cluttered. I liked how it wasn't like Android Lollipop, but that's really software, and I guess you could change that if you wanted to, I think maybe. But in terms of the performance, this phone is very capable. I don't have any problem problems, like I said, and you shouldn't really have problems with this phone for a while. Even when I did the Google Pixel XL video, I really was surprised by the performance of it. And because this thing is on stock Android, it doesn't have all these like crazy features or anything like that. You're pretty much just left with clean version of Android, and you don't need like top-notch specs or like the most amount of RAM to be able to utilize the most out of this phone. Now, with that being said, it is kind of a con because you don't get that many features like what Samsung has. Samsung kind of bloats their software, but you kind of have to give them credit because they put in a lot of features. I mean, there's some things that, like with the Galaxy Note 3 that you could do that still shock me. But in terms of the Google Pixel 2, you're really not going to have any problems in performance. Gaming is perfectly fine as well. Heavier intensive gaming, whatever you're going to do with this phone, you're going to be very capable with. I'm not going to say it's the best performing phone. It's definitely not. But in the price range that this phone is in, and with everything considered, the software, the body and everything, I mean, this thing doesn't feel like amazing $3,000 flagship or anything like that, but it's very good in terms of what it brings to the table, I think. Now, one little key thing I have a problem with is that with some apps, I don't know if this is an Android 9.0 problem or if this is a Google Pixel 2 problem. When I opened up like Temple Run, for example, there was a little gap on top of the actual app, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. That might be a software problem. It's definitely not a hardware problem. So I don't know what's going on there. Is that an aspect ratio problem, do you guys think? Leave it down in the comment section below. I don't want to give my opinion on it because I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it could be a Temple Run problem, but it could be an aspect ratio problem too. So maybe they just had to fill in the gap there. But yeah, that was kind of strange. But that's definitely software, so I don't want to give too much flack about that. So hopefully they do fix that. I just kind of want to address it here. Now, continuing on with the camera. Now, the camera was really hyped up, and it actually is a very good camera. A lot of people said that it was the best camera ever. And me personally, you know, it very well could be the best camera ever at the time. Probably not anymore with the Google Pixel 3 and the 10s and everything. It's a 12.2 megapixel sensor. There's only one sensor on the back. It has OIS. It has all these cool little things, laser autofocus, and it's a very good sensor. I mean, like, is it better than the 10s or iPhone 10 or whatever? Yeah, maybe, probably, but I mean, I think cameras are so good now, and I say this in every video, like, yes, the camera is amazing. You're able to shoot 4K at 30 frames per second, which is kind of weird. I thought they would go up to 60, but it's whatever. A 1080p at up to 120 and 720p up to 240 if you would ever want to do that for some reason. But the camera is good, photos look really good. And one slight little thing is there's not really too many like features within this camera. You know, like iPhone has portrait mode and all these cool little things. I'm sure you can do that with third-party apps on the Google Pixel 2, but I would still love to see a little bit more features. I mean, it still seems like it's very plain. The photos might look amazing, they might look the best, but I still want to see some new software enhancements possibly. I know Google just recently came out with like the Smart HDR thing with the Google Pixel 3 or whatever their counterpart is. I know that's Apple, but I would still have loved to see more things added into the Google Pixel kind of software, into the camera app. So I guess we'll kind of see that later on in the line. But yeah, it's an amazing camera. You're not going to be disappointed. The front camera is 8 megapixels. You're able to shoot 1080p at 30 frames per second. It's a good sensor as well. I mean, again, like cameras are so good now that I just feel like every single time a video is made or a review is made, it's about like 80% just talking about the camera, or even like 60% or half the video. I just think they're so good. I just wish phone manufacturers focus on other parts of the phone, especially with like the Google Pixel 3 XL. They could have really focused on the body, the way it looks, but it seems like they focused more on the camera, especially the front camera on that one. But again, with this phone, you're not going to have any problems with the camera. It's going to be very, very good. Another interesting thing about this phone, like I said, doesn't have true wireless charging, but the battery life isn't that horrible, I would say. It has a 2,700 milliamp hour battery, and it's kind of in the middle because, you know, it's not like the most spec heavy thing. It only has a 1080p screen. It's not amazingly, it's not a gaming phone or anything like that, but the battery size kind of does irk me a little bit because I feel like a phone like this should have at least a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. They did update it and make it a little bit bigger on the Google Pixel 3. Because this phone is kind of heavier in terms of the specs, it's not the heaviest, but you want to be able to get the most out of a phone, and they didn't necessarily drop the ball. It's really like in the middle, because if this phone had like a 3,100 milliamp hour battery, just imagine how much better and how much longer this phone could have lasted. Now, they could make software enhancements to make the battery last longer, but I'll say in terms of battery life, I'll give it like maybe like a 7.5 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10. Probably could get, like if I took my usage right now of my daily driver and put it into this, I will probably say I could probably last a day out of it. But again, this is one thing I want to tell you guys. These phones, you know, especially with no removable backs, this phone doesn't even have removable storage, which is really weird because you're only given two options, 64 and 128. But regardless, a phone like this with no removable battery, the battery is only getting smaller and smaller every day if you think about it, because it's not going to be 100% of the value or the 100% of the amount it has left, because batteries deteriorate over time. So if you get this phone now, unless if you're getting it new, then it's one thing, but if you're getting it used, it probably will have like 90% of the battery life that it had when you officially got it. So putting a bigger battery in there will only like help dampen the amount of depreciation in the battery that you'll get. But yeah, I'll say it's about like a 7.5 out of 10, maybe like 8 out of 10 in terms of battery life. Some other notable things to note, like I said, it has a fingerprint sensor on the back. It's pretty nice, I like it. I would rather have a fingerprint sensor than no fingerprint sensor or Face ID, so this phone definitely has an advantage here. This phone also does not have a headphone jack, which is kind of weird because they bashed Apple on the Google Pixel. They said this phone has a headphone jack, but now with this one they took it away. So I don't know why they did that, but it's whatever. But you can listen to music through the USB-C port if that helps you out, but you can always get like AirPods or Beats or something and listen to your music that way. But this phone does have front-facing speakers, so you'll have that option as well. And the most important thing I think I want you to take away from this is that this phone is still getting software updates, and it's going to get software updates for a while. And even when it's not getting software updates, you can always throw a custom ROM on it, like I would always recommend. But as of now, I would probably just keep it stock. But is the Google Pixel 2 worth it in the later part of 2018? I'm going to say obviously 100% yes. This phone is 100% worth it in the later part of 2018. There's really nothing that is screaming to me don't recommend it. There's no like crazy hardware problems. There's no like software issues. There's really nothing too crazy. Maybe battery life, but really other than that, it's a very safe phone. This is probably the safest phone you can get just because of software and because there's really nothing going crazy. I mean, this phone is not really going anywhere. I'll say maybe there's some small little software issues like I pointed out earlier, but really like this is a very good phone. It's good all around, like very good camera, very good software, and that kind of speaks to me the most. I will say probably the only downside, like I said, maybe battery life and probably the way it looks now that I think about it. But if you can get over those things, people say the same thing about me. They say I don't look good, I'm ugly, this and that, but man, I think I'm pretty important and I do kind of think sometimes. So I think the Google Pixel 2 is kind of like me in a way. I will leave a link to a Google Pixel 2 in the description if you guys want to get it. I always try to find the lowest prices and link them down below. So not only do you guys get them for the lowest prices, but you can also help the channel too at the same time. It's like a win-win for everybody. And if you plan on getting another phone or anything like that, get it through that link so you can help support the channel and grow this channel out more and help us get more devices and everything. So that is pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber we get really does count, so it'll mean so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel, Lo-Fi Alpaca. I do a lot more like iOS reviews and iPhone reviews, and seldomly I do Android reviews, but if you guys want to see those, I'll go ahead and start dropping on them too. That is also linked down below. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.